Hello friends, I'm Colonel Chehel and the topic of today's video is 5 things that you could avoid when you go to the SSB. So there are certain things that you have to be extra careful about. So I will be listing out 5 such things that you may avoid when you land up for your SSB. The first and the foremost is that avoid being casual. Now this is going to be visible right from the beginning when you land up at the SSB. If you are not carrying all the items that were listed out in the call-up letter and you suddenly realize that a particular item you've forgotten home, or maybe the background of the photo that was required to be carried by you is something else as not the one which they require, you will have to then run around to the market, get yourself snapped, and all such things are going to create unnecessary stress on your mind, which is most likely going to affect your performance. Also, when you land up at the SSB, you're aware that you may not get time to change. So many people have seen वो चप्पल में पहुंच जाते हैं and they're wearing very casual clothes जो train में travel कर रहे थे, same clothes they are wearing for the screening test. So that naturally puts a very bad impression on the assessors. It shows that you're a very casual person. So even if you have less time, it may be a good idea that even at the railway station you could have a bath, groom yourself properly, wear formal clothes, and then land up for the SSB. Similarly, on all other days, if you're not careful about the briefings, let's say during the psych briefing you were not attentive and he's told you, let's say, that you should not flip back in your dossier, or he's told you something like that you're not carrying mobiles when you answering your SRTs. Sometimes he may tell you that. So you were not attentive and you used mobile in your responses in the SRTs. Similarly, for the interview, you were not careful about when he was asking you the comprehensive question. 7 questions में से आपको सिर्फ 3 ही recall कर पाए. So that means you were not attentive, and that naturally shows a casual behavior. He may also then further probe you. He may want to know what is your daily routine. From that itself, your casual behavior or casual nature will get highlighted. Same goes for the GTO tasks. I've seen so many times that the candidates are very careless, very casual. They're not attentive to GTO's briefing. उसने बोला कि भाई I do not want you to use physical body weight when you negotiate a particular obstacle, but you've not kept that in mind. Sometimes you're sitting for a briefing, or you're sitting through a lecturate and you're looking away. You're not even attentive to the person who is giving out that briefing or the lecturate. So that shows that the person is very casual. So now this should be an attitudinal change in you. It can't happen overnight that udhar jaake you will be careful and not being casual, but this should start happening in your day-to-day life. So make sure that you are more attentive, more alert, more focused, and more in the present, and make sure that you are not thoughtlessly or not mindful when you're attempting certain things in your day-to-day life. The second thing that you got to be careful about, or you got to avoid, is do not antagonize your group. A lot of people rub the group the wrong way, and the group kind of rejects such people. Sometimes the candidates are a little selfish or overly selfish. Sometimes they let down other people during an activity. They'll say मैंने नहीं किया, ये chest number so and so ने किया, or they on purpose they highlight that chest number so and so is breaking a rule. So make sure that you strike a good rapport with everybody. So I've seen so many times in the SSB when I was there that a group that was very homogeneous and who were standing by each other, उसमें कोई एक आधा जो बॉर्डर लाइनर था उसको भी कैंडिडेट्स ने खींच के रिकमेंड करा दिया. एंड इफ द ग्रुप वाज वेरी डिसरप्टिव एंड दे वर फाइटिंग विद ईच अदर, नॉट लिसनिंग टू ईच अदर, लेटिंग डाउन ईच अदर. आई हैव सीन उसमें कोई एक आध बेचारा जो बॉर्डर लाइनर था उसको भी उन्होंने खींच के नॉट रिकमेंड करा दिया. सो दैट मीन्स योर ग्रुप हैज़ अ वेरी मेजर रोल in your recommendation, and this is also seen by the assessors. Let's say during the screening test, PPDT discussion, if you are highlighting another person flaws, unnecessarily highlighting कि उसने ये गलती करी या उसको आप let down कर रहे हो. And same goes for other activities also. During even the interview, the interviewing officer may want to know your interpersonal relations with your friends and other people and see that are you a person who is going to let down others, and naturally it goes against you if you do that, even with the assessor. With the GTO, many times the group rejects you, and during the command tasks maybe nobody calls you or one odd person calls you, then naturally that really grows against you, and that means your sociometry is very low. So make sure that you are a popular person in your group, because your group has a role to play in your recommendation. Coming to the third thing that you may avoid is a lot of people try and put on a show. They try and be somebody else that they actually not. They are acting like fakes, and which is so very visible during every activity that you do, because वो officers वहाँ पे कई साल से हैं, and they've seen thousands of candidates, so you just can't pull wool and you can't make fool of them. So make sure that you do not put up a show. Be honest, be the person that you are. But before that, you got to make sure that you uplift your personality and you are the person that they're looking for. Only naturally then you can be the person that you are. So make sure. Some people talk big during the interview, badi baatein karenge. Then you will see that the interviewing officer will cut you to size. He will probe you, or he'll ask you such follow-up questions that will make you very uncomfortable. So make sure that you do not act as a person that you are somebody else, but be the person that you are. And that is how, even in your group, you will be a popular person. The group will also like you if you're being honest and if you're being humble. Very important for you to understand this. The fourth point that you got to be careful about is that avoid remaining in the background in most of the activities. A lot of people are very bright, they're very sharp, but they are unable to project themselves appropriately. So in their demonstrated behavior, they look inadequate. So remember that the SSB goes purely by what you exhibit. तो आपका जो exhibited behavior है, they will primarily be interested in that. So a lot of people who are very bright and who are unable to appropriately showcase their attributes normally get left out. So this is an important thing to be kept in mind, that whatever activity is going on, you got to be in the inner coterie of activities. You got to be there where the action is happening. Even if you for some reason cannot be there, let's say the group was very active और आप पीछे ही रह गए, start line पे रह गए. Now wherever that you are, you can still contribute in terms of ideas. So you could keep telling other people, just number so and so, could you please keep that bully next to that blue line and stick it up into that cut which is there in the rear. तो ऐसे करके कुछ तो आप बोलते रहो. So wherever that you are, you can still contribute in terms of ideas and still remain visible in the group. So it's very, very important for you to remain visible in the group. Only then the GTO would know that you are an active member in that. So being in the forefront, taking initiative, and making sure that the others listen to what you're speaking. It is very important that you're heard. It is not so important that you speak, but also very important that you're heard and understood by other people. Only then will you be a person who is effective in a team. So very, very important. And the last point that you got to be careful about, that you got to avoid, is please do not give stereotype coached responses. The assessors are very, very averse to this. So, a lot of candidates, they pick up from the social media certain, responses which the other people have given. They interact with previously recommended candidates and they find out कि भाई आपकी SSB में क्या हुआ था. They have sometimes, memorized certain themes and stories which are not relating to the stimulus that is shown there. Sometimes the interviewing officer asked you a question and you take off at a tangent because you know a lot about it and you don't understand how much is enough. So please remember, even in the outdoors, that the candidates who are coached will start giving very complex ideas that they've learned from some coaching academy, and they're unable to apply their own minds. So this is one very important component that you got to keep in mind, that the application of your own mind is being seen by the assessors there. So whatever that you've learned from wherever, it is a good idea. I mean, they're not averse to people who have, let's say, taken coaching or who have worked on themselves and groomed and become better, but they are very averse to candidates who are unable to apply their own minds. They are applying the minds of the coaching academy, or they are applying the minds of other people. That is what puts them off. So please make sure that you retain your originality, even if you are taking coaching, or if you've taken help from someone else, from social media or wherever that you've taken help. It is very important for you to then internalize that and see how it applies to you. So unless you're able to use your own thoughts, and if you lose your originality, that naturally goes very much against you, because the SSB is primarily meant to check your personality attributes and not someone else's. The moment the assessors get to know that this is not you but somebody else being portrayed in whatever responses that you're giving, naturally it loses the significance for them, and it is very difficult for you to then make it through in the SSB. So these were some important 5 points that you could keep in your mind when you go for your SSB, and it cannot happen overnight. I would suggest that these points that I've told to you, you should start keeping those in your mind in your day-to-day life. So in your everyday life, make sure that all these 5 things which I told you, you start implementing those. You start being the person that you are, and do not lose your originality when you land up at the SSB, and I'm sure you're going to do exceptionally well. All the best. God bless you all.